Welcome to the Power of Advice series brought to you by Zurich Life Insurance in the Middle East. We're collaborating with industry leaders to educate our audience about the need and the power of financial advice so you can take optimistic action and secure your financial future.
So welcome to the Power of Advice series. My name is Sanaya and I lead the digital marketing strategy at Zurich Middle East. Today is a special day because I have two absolutely inspiring powerhouses with me, joining me today, and I'm so happy to have you here. So thank you for being here. We're going to talk about career, we're going to talk about growth, we're going to talk about leadership, and we're going to talk about being women in this business. So lots to look forward to. Sandi, you have been in this business for 27 years now. You call yourself the tour of the universe, but you can explain that in a minute to us. And I think what I really like about the few interactions we've had in the last few months is that you are a major advocate for women's financial freedom. And I really appreciate that, and I want to learn about that a little more today. Anuja is our head of strategy at Zurich, and she is really the powerhouse that drives Zurich and its business and the strategy you really do. And she knows this already, but I'm her biggest fan, and I speak for a lot of women in the organization. So thank you, both of you, for being here. We'll come to your stories in a bit, but before we start, I want to actually get into a rapid fire. So I'm going to throw some questions at you. The only rule is to be quick. And Sandi, I don't need to tell you this, but add some fire. All right, so I'm going to start with Sandi. Sandi, what's the first thing you do in the morning?
I actually take a deep breath and then say, wow, what a wonderful day.
Love that. Anuja, same question for you.
I speak to my parents while making coffee.
Oh, that's lovely. That's a good idea. Maybe I should need to start doing that. All right. Anuja, I'm going to next question for you. The insurance market, as you see it today, in one word.
Evolving.
Okay. And Sandi?
Booming.
Okay. Sandi, what's your favorite social media platform?
Instagram.
Anuja?
LinkedIn.
I know. I knew she would say that. So this is an interesting one, Sandi. Who's the personality that you would love to sell a life insurance policy to?
Elon Musk.
Ooh.
Which wife of his is going to get the
Oh, yes. We'll sell him a big policy.
Okay.
They can share.
Anuja, what about you?
Sultan Al Niadi, but as one of the most creative minds in Zurich has mentioned, a life worth living is a life worth ensuring.
Oh, thank you, Anuja. Anuja, next question for you. One skill you wish you had mastered?
Cooking.
You don't know how to cook? Okay. I didn't know that about her. Okay.
Barely scraped through.
Okay, cool. Sandi,
One skill.
apart
Mountain-
from all the skills you already
Mountain climbing.
Oh, that's interesting.
have. Interesting. I've been a mountaineer in my previous life. Sandi, what's your favorite type of cuisine?
Thai.
Okay. And Anuja?
Indian.
Indian. Okay. Sandi, next question for you. Early morning jog or a late evening walk?
Late evening walk.
Okay. Anuja?
Both actually.
Both.
And I do both to and fro from the office.
Perfect. Okay. What's the first priority, Sandi, for someone who started their career? Is it protection or savings?
Protection.
Okay, interesting. Anuja, what do you think?
I would say protection too.
Okay, interesting.
But it's an interesting trade-off between what you love and who you love. So ideally both.
Okay, very, very interesting. So, Anuja, I'll start with you. Share one thing about you that people don't know.
I enjoy movies and I tend to retain quite a lot in terms of dialogues, characters, and I play it back quite often.
I knew that about you. Sandi, what about you?
My life's pretty much an open book.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think there's really much that people don't know about me.
Okay.
But then I do that by choice. So I would say that sleeping. I love to sleep any time of the day.
Okay, cool. Sandi, what's your go-to stress relief activity after a challenging day at work?
Sleep.
Perfect. Anuja, what about you?
I walk back home and at times I go for a movie
Mhm.
or just a swim.
Okay. If you could insure any unusual item, what would it be and why?
I would say grey cells in the minds of some people within Zurich.
Sandy, if
Difficult to answer. Can I skip it?
yes, you can. Anuja, who's been your biggest inspiration?
My mom.
Okay, and Sandy.
My mom too.
Oh, okay. My mom too. All right. So Sandy, I want to start with you, and we're done with the rapid fire now. Your journey has been absolutely fantastic. I've stalked you on LinkedIn for the last 1 week now, so I just want to know where it started. So take us back to 27 years before, and you're here now, and we just want to hear about that.
Okay, so 1996, defining year in my life. I came to Dubai, and my whole world just crumbled because we were used to an extremely affluent lifestyle, and I expected that the same would be here. However, due to certain miscommunications, I would like to call it, I was not aware of the entire picture. And so it came as a complete shock
Okay.
that this lifestyle was not only going to stop,
Yeah.
but there's going to be some dramatic and drastic changes.
Yeah.
Because the contract that my husband had signed, it was cancelled, not because of him, but because of whatever
Yeah.
circumstances. And we had absolute expenses going through the ceiling,
Yeah.
moving in that direction that everything was going to be all right.
Yeah.
And my son was ready to go to university. We didn't have any money. So we reached a stage where my brother paid the house rent and my sister brought the groceries.
Wow.
And in 1996, if your check bounced, you
Oh,
went
yeah.
to jail.
Yeah.
So it all came to a head because my husband collapsed in a restaurant in Abu Dhabi. And I was like, when I came to know about it, the first thing I asked, was it a heart attack? And they said, no, but he's in hospital and you need to come. So I went to Abu Dhabi. And when I saw him in a general ward, a man who could afford the best medical care because we had the best insurance, that was too much for me. And I realized that I needed to stand up. I needed to do something because you cannot expect another human person to take on all that stress while you just sit at home and wring your hands saying, when is the money going to come? So I decided I was going to get a job. And my sister, who was in recruitment at that time, I said, I need your help in writing a CV. And so she very sweetly informed me. She said, honey, I can't write a CV for you because there's nothing to write. So I graduated from university and I have a marriage certificate and I have 2 birth certificates for my children, and that's about it.
Okay.
But I was determined because there was no going back. So when your back is against the wall, the only way you can go is forward,
Sure.
right? So I decided no matter what happened, I would get a job. However, it was very difficult because number one, there was no CV. So
Yeah.
who's going to entertain a person without a CV?
Yeah.
Because that's something so important,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And my sister did send me to some places where she knew people in HR and
Yeah.
all, but it was very simple. You're a middle-aged woman. I was 44.
Yeah.
Okay, you have no typing skills, no computer skills. You've never done any filing. You don't know how to use a telephone, as a receptionist or whatever.
Yeah.
We can't take a chance on you. We don't have time to train a middle-aged woman because according to them, when you're in that age group, you stop learning or you become brain dead or
Yeah.
whatever. So I do a talk and it's called Belief and Intent. Okay, so I'm not very religious, but I'm very spiritual. Okay, so I pray to the universe, talk with the universe. So my
Yeah.
prayer was very simple: open one door for me, not which door, what kind of door.
Yeah.
And no matter how many times there was a no, my prayer never changed. Because here's a lesson: if you want something and you pray for it, don't keep changing your mind, because the universe will only give you, or God will only give you what you want. But you keep changing your mind, it's never going to happen. So it was like this, and it was answered
Okay.
in an ad that was put out by Eagle Star.
Okay.
and by Mr. R.M. Kumar. And see, I never looked in the classifieds because there was nothing for me there. But that day I did look.
Yeah.
And it was in a bold boundary, and it said, if you think you're a people's person and you think you have good communication skills, no experience required, training provided. Wasn't that just for me? Right? So off I went to this hotel. It was the Hilton Hotel at that time. And I remember there's another lesson. If you want to be seen, never sit at the back of the room. So I made my way to the front, and there were 2 seats there empty, and I said, is the seat taken? They said no. So I sat down, and I was a bit confused because I couldn't quite understand what was being said. They were talking about products, and I was thinking, like, is this an interview, or is it selling products, or what is it? But I did ask a lot of questions, right? And at the end of that, 8 people were shortlisted, and I was one of them.
That's amazing.
And Mr. Kumar said to me, we think you have the qualities to make a good consultant. So I was amazed, like, how did they pick me out of this crowd without even asking me a question? So that was something wonderful, and I decided not to question it. And my first thing was, okay, if you're offering me the job, what is the salary? And he said, actually, there is no salary. And my heart just went, okay, I can't take this, I've reached this place and I'm offered a job and now there's no salary. Oh my God. And I said, no, I can't take this job because I need a salary.
Yeah.
And he said to me, talk to me a little bit more about this and I'll convince you that this is your job for you. But I wasn't listening, close-minded, always thinking about paying at the end of the month, I'll have so much money and I'll pay. So that way of thinking was something that I had to get rid of.
Yeah.
And he did an excellent job showing me how I could determine how much money I would make. Not leaving it to somebody else, not leaving it to an appraisal or a 5% or 10% increase or whatever. My performance was determined by me, and I could see the direct results of my work. So that was my beginning, and it was, I think, the most amazing time of my life because it was a time of discovery. It was a time of finding out what my true potential was, and it was a time where I grew and grew and grew and paid all the bills. I sent my daughter to university. It was wonderful. So I think I made the right decision, and that's where I've never left. I'm still with them.
That's
It's truly inspiring.
absolutely inspiring. Really liked that story. And I liked what you said that, I had to pay the bills and I wanted to get a job.
Yes.
So I think that was, it's brilliant. Anuja, I'm going to ask you the same question. You're a finance girl through and through. I have stalked your LinkedIn as well. So why did you choose this field and when did it start and you're here now? Yeah.
I'm an MBA in finance,
Yeah.
and I'm a gold medalist in trade finance. So natural starting point for me was to start my career in commercial banking,
Right.
which I did.
Yep.
And I was so much in love with the field that I went on to get the highest certifications, qualifications there were to it. In fact, I thought I'll retire from commercial banking itself. About 3.5 years in, I got spotted by the CEO's talent team,
Okay.
and 4 of us were selected to be a part of the strategy team to design products for the younger segment of customers. So
Okay.
it was called youthization because
Wow.
we had to design products for our target segment.
Yeah.
And that was my first brush with a field which was different to what I knew. It was a step outside of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And I got a chance to move across. So from bank accounts
Yeah.
to cards to payments to
Okay.
fintech.
Wow.
Then I moved to financial services. And then with Zurich in insurance. So effectively, I've covered the whole BFSI spectrum.
And why were you passionate about this field?
I think there's something new to learn every single day.
Okay.
And that also taught me that you can actually bring ideas from drawing boards onto the market and from the market to actually scale.
Okay.
And all of it can be done by you. You pick new skills every day.
Yeah.
At times you even unlearn things that you've learned earlier.
Yeah.
and I'm still learning.
So my next question. So both your jobs are intertwined in a way. Sandy, you empower customers to be financially prepared. And Anuja, you empower customers through technology and transformation. So Sandy, what do you think that you can take from Anuja's job when you are meeting your customers and giving them financial advice?
So what I've realized over the years is that you have to progress and you have to move with the times. And if you get left behind, then that's it. You're there.
Yeah.
You're not. So it's very important for people to be relevant, to be able to know what's happening, use what's happening, be informed about making the right calls, the right decisions, etc.
Yeah.
And now, let's face it, technology is everywhere,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So unless you're relevant, you're going to get left behind. And unless you're relevant and you know enough, and I'm giving my own example.
Yeah.
I was quite, like, oh, I'm too scared. I don't
Yeah.
want to press this button or do this or do that or whatever it was. Till I realized that this self-imposed fear due to ignorance was not getting me anywhere. So in order for me to be relevant, it's very important to understand, to learn new things,
Right.
be open to it, and this applies to everybody.
Yeah.
So I think that's very important, and that's the way that you can actually educate more people about
Yeah.
our industry.
Absolutely, I love that word, relevant. I think that's
Yeah.
what really you do, Anuja.
Absolutely.
And the same question from you. What do you think you can take from what Sandy does by empowering customers to be financially prepared? How do you apply that to what you do?
I think, Sana, it's a very pertinent question because, Lewis Carroll said this, if you don't know where you are going, any road will get you there. And if you look at digital transformation particularly, people are so eager to use buzzwords or jump onto bandwagons
Yeah.
that very rarely do we focus on the pain points. And what Sandy and so many other partners and financial advisors do essentially feeds into what we do, because it's a virtuous cycle.
Yeah.
Our goal is to use technology as a means towards the end of ensuring
Yeah.
that our partners and customers have not only the right experiences but also the right outcomes.
Absolutely.
And if we have a pulse on the market through feedback like people from Sandy, I think we've done our job well if we implement it.
We make a good team.
You all really do. See, this is why you all are together today. Now, I'm going to start with you, Sandy, for my next question. You've both made significant contributions in your field. Sandy, I know, and based on what I've read about you, and Anuja, I know because I see you every day. Sandy, you've been instrumental in protecting people's financial futures, but I also know you're one of the strongest advocates when it comes to women's financial freedom. And I want to understand from you, what is the difference when you sell a policy to a woman versus when you sell a policy to a man?
Okay, so the man is generally more decisive and makes a decision faster. The women, on the other hand, even if they are in the workforce, they could be owning their own companies, they tend to take a little while longer. Well,
And
that's fine. It's not.
why
all-
do you think they take
no,
longer?
yeah, that's the good question you're asking me, because I've had people who have a pretty responsible job.
Yeah.
So they're thinking, they're making decisions, etc. But when it comes to the woman making a decision about her own financial well-being, there's always a hesitation, and it's like I need to ask my husband, I need to ask my brother, I need to ask my father. So I said, okay, are they involved in finance? Have they been studying financial products? Have they been taking care of the financial planning,
Yeah.
etc. for the family? No, but I like to have their opinions. So I said, okay, they don't know anything about the product, they don't know about the features, everything I've explained to you. So would you like me to speak to them?
Okay.
Because
Have you done that? Have you spoken to them after speaking to the wife or
Yes, I've
mother
spoken.
first?
Sometimes I've spoken to the dad, and he said, I'm a little nervous because I don't know whether this is the right decision. It's like because it's a new product for them
Right.
as well. I
Yeah,
can
true.
understand that. I said,
Yeah.
I always ask them. I said, so when you go to buy a car, right? Do you make a decision after understanding how the engine works? Or all the things that go into making that car
Yeah.
be used on the road? Or do you just accept that this is the car, this is the company, this is going to get me from point A to B for many years,
Yeah.
and I'm going to buy it?
Yeah.
So then why do you have to ask all these technical questions which actually are meant for the working of the plan?
Okay.
And it's absolutely irrelevant to you.
Okay.
No answer. The other thing that I find which is extremely difficult for women to understand is if they're going on a holiday or they want to buy something or they're organizing a party or whatever event, it's like that. Decision made.
Yeah.
Let's get on with it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
But when it comes to your own financial well-being, someplace where you are going to actually do something for yourself,
Yeah.
it's like, I'll think about it.
Yeah. No, it's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I always tell ladies,
Yeah.
I can't promise you whiter teeth. I can't promise you a wrinkle-free skin.
Yeah.
And I know that insurance products are not sexy. But believe you me, if you want to continue having a beautiful skin and looking your best, you need one thing. It's called money. And that's why I come into the picture, because
Yeah.
I show you how you can make your money work for you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sandy, if I may just add,
Yeah.
there was a survey done by BCG earlier this year, and it says 34% of the world's assets are controlled by women. In the UAE alone,
Yeah.
this figure is estimated to be 140 billion
Wow.
by the end of this year.
Okay.
So women by no means are, a minority or a niche segment anymore.
Yeah.
We are part of the mainstream,
Yes.
and with people like you, we could do
Yeah.
a lot more.
That's amazing.
That was on the savings front.
Yeah.
On the protection front, and you know this, Sanaya,
Yes.
based on our customer benefits paid report, 85% of critical illness claims from women are because of cancer,
Yeah.
and 45% of these claims are because of breast cancer.
Yeah.
So you can't stress the importance of protection and savings enough in women,
Absolutely.
and not just
Yeah.
for us, but also for protecting
Yes.
the women we love in our lives as well.
Absolutely. And have you seen that transition, Sandy, in the last 27 years? Have you seen women get more,
Yes. Yeah, I
in
always say
charge?
one of the things that I know that works very well is when I say this thing, pay yourself first.
True.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Couldn't have
Yeah.
said it
Because
better.
if you wait, if you tell me budget and don't spend on this, I'm going to feel depressed.
Yeah.
We all feel it. Like,
Yeah.
why am I restricting myself?
Yeah.
Why can't I enjoy myself? So, put that money away for yourself, for your future.
Yeah.
Put it away at the beginning of the month. Like an automated debit or whatever it is,
Right,
and then
absolutely.
you have 90% to spend guilt free.
Absolutely.
Right?
Makes sense. Anuja, your experience isn't related directly to financial advice as such, but you've got a seat at the table where decisions about insurance are made. So I want to ask you, what are your challenges when you need to convince a room full of people to transform?
Very interesting. I would say by experience, I know that you don't need to have the loudest voice to have the strongest argument. You can be very soft spoken. I am.
Yes, you are.
But if you're objective in your analysis and if you do your groundwork really well, you may not always be the most popular person in the room, but I guarantee you, you will be the most respected person, not just within that room or within the organization, but within the industry. So that definitely has held me in good stead.
Okay. And what are the challenges you see? I love that line about don't be the loudest, be the strongest. I love that line. But, and I'm going to use that. But what are the challenges? And there are challenges. We've seen that. So how do you overcome someone?
I think the first challenge is at times we tend to hold our own selves back. So the idea is to step outside of your own mind and the things which are pulling you back and going out there and give the world a fair chance.
Okay.
And I would say this for men and women that
Yes.
we've been working with. We are not just colleagues, but we also have excellent friends, sounding boards, and mentors in the people that we
Yes.
work with.
Yes, absolutely.
So if you give people around you a chance, you will definitely see some wonderful surprises.
See, I knew I was going to be inspired today. It's all happening. And so actually this takes me to the next question very nicely. I'll start with you, Sandy. What has been your biggest professional achievement till today? I know you've had many, but you have to choose one.
Oh, qualifying for MDRT
Oh, that's a good one.
several times. I think that was something that really made me feel great.
Okay.
Because it was something on an international level.
Yes.
True.
And so if you made it there, it showed that you were doing something right. So that was really
Absolutely.
wonderful. And
Okay.
the many years that I qualified for MDRT, I think I had the most amazing time. On a personal growth level, because when you volunteer for at the MDRT, sky is the limit.
Okay.
True.
It was really good.
Okay.
And I learned a lot.
I like that it was.
Do you know something? The person that I met there that I thought was the something that would never have happened if I hadn't gone to MDRT is I met Marius Bernard,
Okay.
who is the creator of the product critical illness
Wow.
insurance. He had just recovered from some, I think, prostate cancer.
Okay.
And he was speaking, and I was like, I don't care how it is, I've got to meet him, I've got to take a photograph with him. And I actually did interview him.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's amazing.
He was very open to that. So that's the great thing about MDRT.
Okay.
You find all the top guys, but
Yeah.
none of them have got an ego. So
Sounds
that was wonderful.
brilliant. Sounds amazing. Anuja, what's your biggest professional achievement?
I think the fact that I've been entrusted with initiatives that could potentially change some of our business lines and revenue models
Yeah.
means a lot to me. And I'm very thankful for that trust which people within Zurich, my colleagues on the management team,
Yeah.
and the senior leadership team have invested in me.
You're very
So-
rightly trusted with
Thank
these
you.
decisions. And if I may ask, what's your biggest personal achievement?
Personal achievement.
Yeah.
I would say it's more about me. It's not about the professional side. It's more about me at my age being able to do many things that most women in their 50s would say no.
I
True.
love that.
We agree.
Thank you, Sandy. Anuja, what about you?
I think my sister and I have been assisting a lot of charities through the years, but one of our personal achievements would be to change the business model of a charity and
Okay.
to make it self-sustaining.
Wow. Which
So-
charity is this? I have to ask.
It was an old age home.
Okay, back in India.
Back in India.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So I'm going to move on to my next question now. And Anuja, you did touch upon this already, but I wanted to ask Sandy. I was speaking to Anuja yesterday, and we were speaking to another really lovely woman, and she said, if you need a job to be done that requires more than 3 skills, give it to a woman. If it needs 1 skill, give it to a man. So we know we're good, but there is something that's holding us back. And what is that? I want to understand from you when we're out there.
Are you talking about women and
Yes.
multitasking?
Women, I'm talking about women. I'm saying that we know
Yeah.
we're good at
Okay,
what we
so,
do, but
yeah.
we hold back. And why do we hold back?
So I think one of the most important things that women need to recognize about themselves is that they are masters at multitasking,
Yes.
right? And most people don't actually acknowledge that or appreciate that. It's considered, like, oh yes, it's done. And if you look at a working woman and a person who may not even have proper help at home, she actually does a double shift.
Yeah.
Because she
Absolutely.
comes home,
Yeah.
puts her handbag on the table, and she's there.
Yeah.
Homework,
Yeah.
food, so
Absolutely.
many different things.
Yeah.
What does man do? He walks in and just sits down, gets the remote, and watches TV.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's the way it is. And it's not good or not bad at all. But we need to recognize the fact that women are very resilient. And when they're in a position where they have to juggle, they do a very good job. also they take on a lot of things on their shoulders, responsibilities, etc., because they can handle it well. But more important, and this is a point that I need to make, it's social conditioning. Women are expected to do A to Z. Okay, that's the way it is. And it's very important for women to realize that only they can draw the boundary. Only they can say no more. And they must learn how to use a very nice word which I use. It's N-O. No.
Also, the
Not
most
happening,
difficult one.
right? It's important to realize that
Yeah.
because it's only when you do that in your personal life and in your professional life, etc., that people learn to value you more and also to know when they have to stop.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Anuja, what do you think holds us back?
I would just echo what Sandy said, right? We are designed like Swiss Army knives.
Yeah.
And in one of the places, the speaker said, you know, a woman's mind is probably more complex than Dubai air traffic control. A woman knows exactly what flight is landing
Yes.
where, what flight
Yes.
altitude
Yes.
the kids are at, what needs picking up, medical appointment that needs to be booked, because
Yeah.
most often we juggle caregiving along with a lot of other roles and work. So I think women are fantastic at multitasking anyways. But it's often that harsh little voice inside our heads which keeps telling us you're not probably good enough, intelligent enough, experienced enough, tall enough, fit enough. In fact, you're not enough. And I think that little voice is the voice that needs to be, put on the side for some time. And you need to give yourself a chance to rise to your fullest potential.
Okay. I love that. I love that. I'm going to ask you just to continue on that. How do we overcome that voice in our heads?
How did I? I think I was brought up in a family where I was the center of attraction. Because I was the only child for 6 years and the first grandchild, and so I grew up. And as we all know, that whatever happens in the first 6 years stays in your mind. So I was always like, I'm number one.
Okay.
I'm the center of attraction. Everybody does things the way I want them to do it. That was the way I was brought up. My sister was different, so you can see the difference in the way our personalities have been shaped.
Right.
But as I grew and in my profession, I learned one thing. Is that if I don't stand up for myself, nobody else is going to do it. If I don't speak up, I cannot expect somebody else to speak up for me. I have to do it.
Right.
Okay, so even if I was hesitant or I was shy or I felt awkward, I had to overcome that in order to be heard. But very important, you don't have to be loud. You just have to be, you just have to be firm.
Yeah.
And you can say a very few words to get the message across.
Absolutely.
I think that's what we need to learn.
Yeah.
There's a difference between being loud and being firm.
Yeah. I think that's something that's coming out from today's conversation. You don't
Yes.
have to be loud, you have to be firm, strong.
Yes.
So I
But
think that's-
the other thing is also very true. And I said, because that's my nature, you have to be awed to be number one.
And sit in the front.
Right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you for that. I'm going to come back to insurance now, and I want to ask you, how do you think the industry is going to change in the next 5 years? Sandy, I'll start with you.
Well, I think people have become more conscious about what can happen. And they have also understood that unless they make proper provisions for their financial situation, you cannot always depend on the commission or the salary.
Yeah.
So what we saw was, how much did you have in reserve? How much could you use?
Yeah.
That was one thing. The other thing is, for the first time, I think many people realized the importance of budgeting.
Okay.
Because previously it was like, you got money and you spent it, you got it and you spent it. And budgeting. And that's what financial planning is all about, right?
Yeah.
Is to budget.
Yeah.
So when I start speaking to people now and I tell them, I said, in the last 2-3 years, I think it's the first time you consciously looked at a budget.
It's interesting. Yeah.
All right, and now you realize that you can make do with a little less. Okay, so my thing about financial planning and about planning for the future is all about having that nest egg
Yeah.
that makes it easier for you when you're older. So the nest egg has to be built. And I think there was a bit of a change in the thinking of people about how they should budget and how they can actually make do with less
Absolutely.
in order to have more later.
It's very interesting. Yeah. I think the pandemic pushed
Yeah.
us quite a bit to
Absolutely.
think like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Anuja, what do you think?
I think we are at the cusp of a lot of interesting opportunities. As you rightly mentioned, the pandemic has definitely increased awareness levels,
Yeah.
but still, in terms of insurance penetration, there's a lot of opportunity out there. On the retail side, we are also facing tailwinds from multiple factors. We've got a strong GDP growth, we've
Yeah.
got longer term residency visas, we've got We the UAE 2031 vision,
Yes.
national visions in Bahrain, Qatar, and a couple of other places within the GCC.
Right.
So I think it's all propelling the insurance industry forward, along with a lot of progressive regulatory measures around disclosures, transparency,
Yes.
and customer centricity, basically.
Okay.
On the corporate front, I think the end of service benefits is
Yeah.
ripe for reform, and as plan administrator in ZWS, I think we have been in pole position to take the government's vision forward. We've got a very strong suit on both the corporate savings and the group risk
Yes.
front.
Yes.
And if I were also to look at emerging technologies, I would say with generative AI, for instance, or data mining, visualization techniques, a lot of fields within insurance can benefit. You have the likes of underwriting, actuarial, financial modeling. So I think we are set for very, very exciting times ahead.
Okay. And I'm looking forward to them with you and you. Okay. So, quick question to actually wrap this up. I'll start with Sandi again. Sandi, what is your advice to aspiring financial advisors in the market right now?
Okay, so my advice is very simple. Be genuine,
Okay.
right? You need to be open and talk about life. It's not about the product. It's what the product does for you. So you talk about how the peace of mind, the dreams and the aspirations, the protection, the education, depending on who your target market is. But you need to have the emotional connect.
Right.
You just can't be numbers because
Yeah.
people buy on emotion. People buy on a concept. People buy on a dream. Right? And so I think it's important for us to have that human touch. So that when
Got
we
it.
talk about the children's education or their graduation or enjoying time off instead of working because you have a nest egg, being comfortable knowing that you have your insurance policies in place,
Yeah.
you don't have to dig into your savings if something happens to you. I think those are the things that matter more.
Okay.
And then we have the vehicles
Yes.
to get you to that destination.
Absolutely. Love that. Sell the
Love
dream. Yeah. Anuja, what do you think? What is your advice to aspiring, not maybe financial advisors, people, women in finance, people in finance?
It's a very interesting question, Sana, and I'd just like to quote Mulan here. A single grain of rice can tip the scale, and one person can make the difference between victory and defeat in a war. And I think the same goes for a financial advisor, or rather, the right financial advice. That can mean the difference between, in some instances, life and death, and in some instances, a partial versus a complete recovery. So I think you can't stress the importance of good financial advice
Yeah.
and insurance strong enough,
Yeah.
because these are industries which actually fill us with a sense of purpose and make us come to work every single day with that sense of satisfaction and purpose.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to stop here. And thank you both so much for being on this podcast with us today. It has been absolutely inspiring. I knew it would be. I didn't know it would be so inspiring. There's a lot I need to do just watching both of you. So thank you again. And that's a wrap.
Thank you so much.